Hello, everyone. Adjusting. I'm adjusting. Hi. Hello, hello, hello. Good to be here with you guys. Can you just let me know that the sound is good? So I know you can hear me. Okay. Yay. It's good to be here with you guys. If you're here live, happy Monday or Tuesday morning, depending upon where you are on the planet. And if you're watching this live, grateful that you're here. So I wanted to give a minute or two to let some more people join. So say hello in the chat and let me know where you're from, where you are in the world. Really excited to be here with you guys. Slovenia, Canada. Hi, Terry. Yeah, I saw that you got your ticket. I'm so excited to meet you in person in Sedona, Indiana, LA, Manitoba, Utah, Romania, Tasmania. Hello, Jess. Puerto Rico, in the Netherlands, Ireland, Colorado, Belgium. Truckee. I love Truckee. Israel. Good to have you here. Hi, hello from Brazil. Germany. We are going to be translating and publishing the book in many different languages. German being one of them, Dutch being one of them, French being one of them. Lots of languages. So I'm excited for that when it starts to unfold. All right, so let's get going. This is a live YouTube series, 7 days, starting today, ending on Sunday, September 4th. I wanted to connect with all of you that are reading the book, the Divine Design, that have read the book, The Divine Design, or are going to be reading the book. I wanted to connect and just answer some of your questions and also read from the book. A lot of you have been reaching out with questions. And so I thought it would be a really fun way to dive deeper into the book. Also, for you to connect with other people all over the world that are reading it and have read it. Just to get more clarity. The book was it was a Cliff Note version of how we got here and what we're doing and everything that occurred in between the moment Earth was created into the beautiful planet that she was created into right here, right now in 2022. It's quite a miraculous trip. It's quite a miraculous journey that we've all been on. And it's definitely an absolute divine design. There is nothing out of place or going wrong in this journey. But to really start to remember it, right? Because it's within our DNA, it's in our cells, it's in our codes, the light codes that are held in the DNA. So it's a deep, deep remembrance. And like I said yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. I think it was whenever it was. Once you start remembering, it doesn't take away from the human journey. It doesn't take away from our trauma, our relationship issues, our pain, our suffering. It doesn't just miraculously take that away and we don't bypass that. But it allows us to start to see through another lens, a bigger perspective of what this human journey is all about, what we're actually truly doing here. And so what happens when you start to read the Divine Design is you start to juggle this remembrance, this deeper purpose for all of this, while you simultaneously continue to stay very human. I do not believe in not feeling the pain, the trauma, the uncomfortable, the anger, the stress, the anxiety, the worry. I don't believe in shifting ourselves into high vibes. I believe in being very human and devouring all of the pieces of being human, all of it, and allowing the natural process of our evolution to naturally raise our vibration for us. And so what's so beautiful about the Divine Design is it puts you into more ease. It allows you to relax. It allows you to take the pressure off yourself. Say, maybe there isn't anything wrong with me. Maybe we are in deep programming, massive mind control, dark, dark energies and evil that we're shifting out of. Okay, that's why we're here. And to start holding that remembrance more and more, because it is in every single human body's DNA. It's in every single human body's cells. It's in their light codes. Nobody is exempt from this remembrance. It's just a matter of whether that human is going to be activated and remember. And there's millions of humans that won't. There's hundreds of millions that are going to. So today I wanted to read a little bit of the first chapter, how we got here. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the 12D grid. I think the 12D grid was probably what surprised me the most when I was downloading the information for the book. So if you are new here and you are not aware of what I'm talking about, I wrote the Divine Design and it took me about 4 years, and I downloaded the information. The information came in as higher frequency like light movies. It was like a movie scenes, and I had to dissect it. And it came in from a group of consciousnesses that the humans call the Galactic Federation of Light. And I dissected it with graphs, a lot of journaling. And the part that the 12D grid is really what not only solidifies this entire human experience, but is what was most jaw-dropping for me, that all of this that we have ever experienced and will continue to experience is held within a 12D grid. So I'm really excited to talk about that tomorrow. I'll leave that for tomorrow. Today, let's talk a little bit about who we are as consciousness. What is consciousness? Right. And then I'll just read probably a page and a half. And then I'm going to open it up to questions. So we'll probably be here for about 45 minutes. If you have questions, hold off until I am done reading and ask for the questions. Otherwise, I won't see them. If you have the book, let's read together. So also, before I get going, I want to thank you guys all for all your support. The book is doing amazing. And if you are still waiting for the hard copy, for whatever reason, I don't know why it is taking until October for so many people to get this book. It makes no sense whatsoever. You can get the paperback in about 3 to 4 days, wherever you are in the world. You can get it from Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. You can get it from Book Depot, I think, in Europe. There's all kinds of sites online that you can grab the paperback. So if you are still waiting on the hard copy or the hardcover, just know that I have no control over what's going on with the publishers and with Amazon. And the answers that I've received they make no sense. So leaving it up to the universe to disperse this book in the way in which it's going to be dispersed, letting go of control, get a paperback. It's a lot quicker. Also, the ebook is available all over the world. If you are looking for a website to find it, just go to my own website. You'll find all the links. And the audio will be out in October. Okay. Yeah, they canceled people's hard copies. They said, "Are you sure you still want to purchase this?" And, confirm this and that. And I've never seen anything like this in my life. I've never heard of this kind of thing happening with a book. But I'm holding the energy of this book every single day and continuing to anchor it onto the planet. So thank you for purchasing the book. Thank you for sharing the book with your friends and family. And Yeah, it's just going to slowly spread. I was sitting in meditation today, right before this live. And when I sit in meditation, I immediately, this may sound crazy, but it's what happens. I immediately go into this really large mothership in this room inside this large mothership. And I'm connecting with these 12 higher dimensional beings. And it's the Galactic Federation of Light mothership. I go in there instantaneously. It's like, boom, I'm in there. I'm sitting in my chair. I have this little chair that I sit in. And there's like this higher dimensional being that stands there with this like whiteboard. It's really interesting. And then there's like this big window that goes out and you can see the planet. And anyways, I'm sitting there and this consciousness, this being just says it's doing the divine design is going to do what it's going to do, let go of control. Let it do what it's going to do. You don't have control over it. And they were showing me that it's going to be a book that will be kind of imprinted in the lives of hundreds of millions of people over a long period of time. And what I've been practicing the last 2 weeks with regards to letting go of how I want this to go with the book is also letting go of how I want any part of my life to go. That I hold intentions around how, what I would like to receive, what I would like to experience, my intentions, right? I'm holding intentions throughout my day, but I am simultaneously letting go of any sort of expectation or attachment to anything that's going to occur. So it's this juggling of I'm participating, I'm showing up, I'm intending. For instance, I'm talking about the book, I'm sharing about the book, I'm doing this series, right? So I am taking active action, but I'm letting go of any sort of um, attachment to how it's going to unravel. And if I can do that more and more in my everyday life, I find myself in more of a flow state. Then there's more ease and grace as I move through life. So I share this with you um, as an encouragement to practice that as well. People always say, "Well, how do you let go? How do you kind of surrender into life if you're and still, do life?" It's like, well, you practice. You take what I call like this active surrendered state where you're in a receptive state to the universe. Show me how this is meant to go while I continue to show up every single day. It's been very, very, very useful. Okay, I can talk forever and ever and ever. So let's um yeah, my super chat's turned off. I don't know what's going on. I super chat's not on anymore. I don't know. I'm just letting myself just be in this. I appreciate you asking about the super chat. The super chat, for those that don't know, is where you can donate during the live. You can donate money. Um, the best way to donate is just go buy the book and spread it out to all your friends and family. That's the best super chat. Okay. All right. Chapter 1. If you guys have the book, let's read it together. Let's read it together. Chapter 1, the design of the 5D Earth. So again, this is being the narration is from the Galactic Federation of Light. Okay. All right. Let us start from the beginning. Oh, by the way, let me just interrupt. This can be very high level. This can be very difficult to grasp. This is also just one perspective, so it's not the end all be all. It is not the Bible of consciousness. It is not like, oh my God, this is not true. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate, right? It's pretty high level, and so it requires us to allow our bodies to experience it instead of our minds trying to conceptualize it. First, let your body just experience the words. It's an activation, it's an energetic experience, right? Many of you have already been feeling this, right? You pick up the book and you're like, oh my God, something's happening. Like my third eye is popping, my body's vibrating, I'm starting to cry, like I'm shifting, I'm like, I get really tired. There's these physical experiences that you'll start to have when you start reading the divine design because it's designed to it's like it goes beyond the physical and it activates you on an energetic level. So let the words activate you and don't try to necessarily make sense of it right away. Okay. And also take it with a grain of salt. Nobody has to believe any of this. That's the great thing about being human. Let us start from the beginning. All consciousness began from the same source, which many in your field of consciousness refer to as God. Source is a word used by the human to attempt to understand the beginning of consciousness. It allows the human to hold or conceptualize the unnameable. Words are conceived within the dimension one finds themselves in. Consciousness itself does not have a word associated with it. The human needs words to understand its experience. Throughout this book, we will use human words to describe that which has no name. Source exists as a vibration, a soul tone, a single breath that never stops, a heartbeat that continues to expand. Source is a single vibration that has no beginning and no end. There is no definition, no description, no label. It just is. It exists in no time or space, and yet it holds everything. It's a concept, one that the human mind grapples with because source is beyond experience. It is all and nothing at the same time. Humans have touched the spark of source, entering its one unified field of nothingness. When the human consciousness enters it, there is a feeling of complete bliss and oneness. These are simply words used to describe that which is difficult to describe. Source exists in the space of oneness. It has nothing to experience other than the one unified field of its spark. As one unified field, it can only experience itself by existing outside itself. I'm going to read that again because that's massive, it's huge. Source exists in the space of oneness. It has nothing to experience other than the one unified field of its spark. As one unified field, it can only experience itself by existing outside itself. Source uses individual sparks of its own consciousness to experience itself. It pulsates or splits an aspect of its consciousness and sends it into the quantum field. That unique consciousness holds its own energetic frequency based on its energetic spin. The frequency creates an experience. The consciousness that split from source becomes its own energetic expression with its unique experience. Every individual consciousness existing in the now, including you, is created in this way. Let us break this down for you. Consciousness is energy, and energy spins. The spinning of energy creates a frequency that produces a vibrational tone. The frequency dictates the dimension the consciousness is experiencing. The dimension establishes how consciousness experiences itself. A dimension holds a spectrum of consciousness to be experienced within it. Stay with me. A spectrum of consciousness is the available experiences consciousness you can access. The higher in the dimensional field, the smaller the range of consciousness and the fewer experiences. It- the lower in the dimensional field, the larger the spectrum of consciousness and the more experiences a consciousness will have to experience itself. For instance, I hope you guys are getting this. For instance, in the third dimensional field, the human can access thousands of consciousnesses to create an experience. Remember, a consciousness is an emotion, a thought, a belief, a behavior, an interaction, right? Those are consciousnesses, experiences, energetic experiences. They can access fear, love, joy, peace, and so on. However, in a higher dimensional field, like the 5D field, which is only 2 dimensions higher than us, right? The spectrum of consciousness is not as large, and thus there is less consciousnesses for the human to access in order to experience itself. The 5D field does not hold fear, greed, lack, control, and so on. As Source began splitting itself into unique consciousnesses, these energetic expressions of Source began to play within a quantum field. The quantum field is an energetic space allowing infinite possibilities of expression through frequency and dimension. All that ever is, was, and will be resides in the quantum field. All consciousnesses that split from Source exist in the quantum field. Every experience that has, could, or will be experienced is held in the quantum field. All dimensional fields exist within the quantum field. There are an infinite amount of experiences that can be had within the quantum field. And then it goes into universal laws. The quantum field holds universal laws, allowing consciousness to understand how to experience itself. And these universal laws are a natural way of being once separation from Source begins. Two of them are free will and the energetic field. Whew! I don't know about you guys, but that was a lot. I can't read anymore. That was a lot of information packed into one freaking page. That was a lot of information packed into one page. That's how dense. I could write an entire book just on that. And there are books written just on that one page. How consciousness was created, how consciousness becomes, how it exists in the quantum field, how it creates its experiences, how consciousness moves. And the craziest piece is that you and I, right here, right now, watching on this live or on the replay, we are a consciousness. We split from Source. We became separate from Source while simultaneously still connected as Source. It's mind-blowing. It's like, it's so out there that it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I get this, but like, what? And that's why we all talk about we're one. this oneness, this unified field. We all have that heartbeat, that breath of source vibrating within us because we are an aspect of it that literally, energetically split from it. I mean, when you break it down, it's like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Now I understand when people say oneness. I get it. See, everything's physics. You just break it down into the most simplified terms and it's physics, it's energy. And here's the most brilliant thing about all this, you can't prove any of it. You can't prove source. You can't prove that we're a consciousness that's split from source. You can't prove that we're in one unified field. You can't even really prove the quantum field, really. I mean, quantum mechanics is proving it, but it's still very difficult to prove this. It's all a vibrational tone that vibrates within you. It's this deep, deep remembrance and knowingness of like, I don't know what she's talking about, but something within my being is vibrating to it, is vibrating with it. Your body is the compass for truth. And your body will let you know through the physicality, physical sensations, what it resonates with. And the more that we can be in the body to experience the physical sensations of the energetics, the energetic compass of, oh my God, that resonates. Oh my God, that doesn't, the easier this will be. I don't know why that was really difficult to read. I got to read this whole book. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Jeez Louise. Whew. Okay. Yeah, it was very difficult to get this book into something that's understandable. Very, very difficult. It made me lose my mind 100,000 times. It was hard. Like when you're in those math classes that you can't understand and you're in math and you're like watching this math equation on the board and you're like, wait, what? Or like in physics class or, like chemistry or something, you're just like, I'm so not understanding this. And your brain hurts. My brain hurt throughout so much of this book, for especially the first 5 or 6 chapters. Yeah. Who knows where source came from? That's the $1,000,000 question. That's really mind-boggling, mind-blowing, right? Where did source even come from? It's I don't know. I don't care. I don't wanna find out. I don't care. I don't think you can figure that one out, you know? I don't think our brains can understand that. Um, all right. So we don't need to know. I don't need to know. All right, let's do a couple questions. Um Why did Earth want to experience this evolution? That's a good question. So it is explained in one of these chapters in the beginning. But basically, Earth as a consciousness, just like you're a consciousness, right? I'm a consciousness and I'm held inside a physical body. What we call Earth or Gaia or whatever word you want to use for her, she doesn't have a word. She's a consciousness that is inside what we would call a planetary body, but she's a consciousness. She's alive. She's vibrating, she's pulsating, she holds a frequency, okay? Um, she, just like any other consciousness in the quantum field, had an intention. And she's not a human or she doesn't have a mind, right? As consciousness, we don't have minds. So we're not like, this is what I want to do, but we have to conceptualize it. So we speak about it as if Earth spoke like that. Earth didn't speak like that. And Earth didn't make these sentences. And Earth wasn't like, oh, this is what I'm going to do now. It's very difficult to understand this from a human linear construct with words, right? But Earth as a consciousness chose to and intended to create an experience where she would hold herself within a physical form. She was curiosity. Hold myself in a physical form, move into a couple of higher dimensional fields while inside that same physical form. What would that be like? Can I do it? Because in the quantum field, what many of us have forgotten is that to simply experience anything, it's just intention and energy. Okay. And what that means is that from a much higher frequency, which all you guys are, you can go into any dimensional field you want. You can have any experience you want through the intention of it and then shifting your frequency into it. So it's not rocket science. There's nothing challenging about being consciousness and moving in and out different dimensional fields in the quantum field. It's quite easy. Imagine taking your consciousness, moving it into a very dense physical body, like a fifth dimensional body that is very low frequency. 5D is a very low physical reality. And then choosing to stay inside that physical form, which is what she did, what she wanted to do. She's consciousness. She's not the physical form. She's going to hold herself in a physical form like a casing. And then she's going to choose to increase that physical form. Not her consciousness, but the physical form is going to increase in frequency, pulling her into a couple of higher dimensional fields. And what a ride that will be. So instead of her consciousness shifting into these other dimensional fields, she's going to transport herself into a physical form and let that physical form move her into higher dimensional fields. It's the difference between walking to a location and getting into a car and letting the car drive you to that location. I don't know why she chose this. Ask her. Close your eyes and have a conversation with her consciousness. I don't know why she chose this other than this would be an experience. Never done this before. The crazy thing to wrap your head around is that everything that we are experiencing in this entire reality is based on that choice that she made. Because this is a very, very, very unique experience. Physicality is very unique. Physicality is very unique. Being able to experience physical reality is awe-inspiring, is like, holy shit, what? And typically, consciousness can just move all about different energy fields, different dimensional fields, and have all these different experiences. Your consciousness is not evolving. Your consciousness is not ascending. It's the physical body that is ascending and evolving. That's what we got all wrong here. We're confused. Your consciousness is in a much higher frequency. It's just in for the ride. It's the physical form that is the vessel that is allowing you, the consciousness, to experience different dimensional fields. And for most of us, the reason that we are here on the planet right now is to assist the planetary body and Earth as that consciousness to move into higher dimensional fields. Now, if you remember in the book, she started in the fifth dimensional field. Why? Because it's a lot easier. She did not choose to be in a 3D field. That would be insanity. It is very difficult to pull yourself out or to increase your frequency out of a third dimensional physical realm. Why? One, the 3D realm is so heavy. It is so dense. It's like sludge. And in a third dimensional physical field, you're experiencing duality and polarities. And to be able to have your physical form start to pull itself into higher frequencies while it's in a very dense, sludgy frequency is very difficult. It can take a very long time. It's what we're doing right now. So she chose to incarnate her physical form and create her creation from the fifth dimensional field because there's no duality and polarity in 5D. She won't. It's almost like you're in an ocean as opposed to quicksand. So there's just like this. There's an easy flow and movement that can happen. We'll talk all about the fall from grace, the 5D to 3D, and one of the other days down the road here this week, which is that could be an entire 7-book series. How in God's green earth did we go from the 5D and slip down into the 3D? I barely touched on it in this book, barely. But where we are right now is because of free will. One of the two top universal laws is the energetic field and free will. Every consciousness has free will, and every consciousness understands that and allows for free will. And free will really did a doozy on Earth. Like, really. Does Earth have a personality? Not like us, but it's an inner, if you tap into the energy of Earth, you'll be able to feel her, right? That's the thing about starting to feel energies, is that you don't necessarily feel a quote unquote personality. A personality is something that is developed in a third dimensional realm. So she doesn't have necessarily a personality, but when you start to tap into people's inner consciousness's energies, you can read the energy. Earth is very feminine. Earth is very free flowing, natural. Earth is very, very powerful, very empowered, very, she's in a flow state. There's this like beautiful flow state that the earth is in. She has no fear. She's not like, oh my God, Earth, humans are killing me. She's way beyond that, way beyond that. Yeah, it's interesting. You can tap into Earth's consciousness. Can you explain how consciousness in the form doesn't shift in frequency rather than the physical form? Yeah. So when you as consciousness come into the physical body, you are encased in like it's almost like the etheric body. Your consciousness is encased in like an energetic field inside the body. Some people call it the etheric body. Okay. And so you're on an energetic level, you're sort of encased in another energetic form inside the body. Okay. And the physicality, the density of the physical form with all the organs and all of that, the blood, the cells, and all of that stuff, that is sort of like around this encasing of your consciousness, the encasing of that etheric body. And so imagine, I would say, like, here's the body. Okay. I'm obviously not going to drink this water if I do this, but let me just try to give you like a graph. Here's the physical body, right? And the water is all the energy that's inside that physical body. And then your consciousness comes in and goes, but it's light, so it can't be seen, but right? So your consciousness, you are in here. You're encased like this, like the pen, and you're holding a percentage of your light. Most of us have brought in a light quotient that's between 6 to 11%. If you were born after the 90s, your percentage is between, 9 to 16%. If you're born in the last 5 to 10 years, your percentage can go up to like 16%. So you hold a lot of light quotient. Okay, so this doesn't change. This is encased, it's held inside this energetic body and this physical body, and it's going for a ride. What happens is all the light inside the physical body that is also creating the physical body is what shifts. And as the light inside the body shifts, you begin to have different experiences. So you're just going along for the ride, right? So if you're born in the 60s, you're holding between 6 to 11%. I was born in the 70s. I'm holding probably, I don't know, 8 or 9% of my light quotient. All right. The kids that are born right now, 16%. Why are they bringing in more light quotient? Because the physical body is holding more light. The light is higher frequency. So it can hold a higher frequency consciousness. Is this making sense to you guys? So this is just hanging in. Your consciousness is just going for the ride. It's the physical body, right? It's the physical form, and it's the energy that is making the physical form that is what's shifting and giving you a different experience. It's like if a car is driving down the road, okay, and you're in the car. As the car goes to the next block, it's letting you see something new. You're in for the ride. You're not moving. You're not going. You're not doing it. The car's doing it, right? It's more challenging the more light you bring in. Well, pros and cons. The less light you bring in, the less you're going to remember. Okay? So if you bring in 6 to 9% of your light quotient, you're going to be more of an amnesia state because you're holding less light as consciousness. The so that's the con. The pro is that it's not difficult to be in the physical body as much, right? There's not a massive contrast. You're not moving into a body and like, oh, and you're super high consciousness and you're like, oh my God, what is this? Right? This isn't for everyone, okay? So this is just a blanket statement. We like to like grab it and be like, oh my God, I was born in the 60s and I didn't have that experience. I had this experience. This is just a blanket statement, a generalized statement, okay? But when you bring in less of your light quotient, you're more susceptible to the amnesia. Okay. But you're capable of navigating this human journey more. When you bring in more of your light quotient, think about all the kids in the last 30 to 40 years, right? They call them the indigos, the rainbow children, especially the kids right now in the last 10 years. They're bringing in much higher light. So what happens is they can remember more. They come in knowing. They keep that knowingness, right? They keep the knowingness because they have a higher light quotient. However, they have a very difficult time being in the human body, which is why you have these ridiculous, you know, labels like ADHD and autism and all of these things that for many of the kids, it's simply the light quotient. But there's not an easy fix for that. So we have to play in the programming of how we help these children with quote unquote ADHD and ADD and autism and the spectrum of autism and all these things. But for many of them, the simple reason is because they're bringing in much more light and it's very difficult to be in density and physicality, right? It's very, very difficult. You're squirming. You want to jump out of the body. Nothing makes sense to you. You feel like an alien. You don't want to be here. Now, a lot of us have this, okay, but not at the level of these kids coming in, not even close. We have no idea what it feels like to be these kids that are coming in right now. Not even close. If you've ever like been on like cocaine or something, right? And you're just like, ah, that's what a lot of the kids are feeling, you know. But we don't want to we have to have sympathy, compassion, and empathy for navigating this human journey with these labels, right? And how parents and children navigate it, right? Does the book have to be read in chapters one by one sequentially? It's very much a movie, so it would be like fast forwarding a movie. And then you're like, wait, I don't understand. It doesn't necessarily have to be. I don't know how some of you guys may have read it out of order. I think some people skipped chapters. So yeah, I mean, you could go to like the clarion call, you could go to the abduction and hybridization chapter, but it's designed to be read sort of like a movie. So you're kind of following the sequence and it's starting to make more sense and then more sense and then more sense. But you can read it once. I think once you read it over once, then you can just read whatever chapter you want. And you can read whatever chapter you want anyways, but it's definitely meant to be a story that you follow, right? But you can read it however you want to read it. Where is the rest of our light? It kind of depends on where you quote unquote came from. Okay. So there's 1,000 different answers for where the rest of your light quotient is. We don't just have one consciousness, so we are existing elsewhere as well. Okay. So in the book, I describe sort of where we're held as what we call stars and planets and galaxies. So our consciousnesses are held inside this 12th dimensional grid. um, Difficult concept to conceptualize and to hold and to understand. But imagine that the way we split from source is also what happens with your consciousness. So you split, your consciousness splits, and there's a part of you that's in the human body, and there's a part of you that's not in the human body, existing somewhere else. Um, Many times in our dream state, we will reconnect with that larger aspect of our consciousness. It's very difficult to grasp. Um, Let's get rid of that random person. Why does energy feel like a wave frequency? Because it's always moving. Energy moves. And if you're the reason that it can kind of feel like a wave is because it doesn't just go like this. Energy doesn't just isn't like a straight experience. It's always fluctuating. Sort of like your weight. The body weight always fluctuates, right? When you wake up in the morning, you may be a certain weight. In the evening, you may be a certain weight, and throughout your day, your weight may be varying. Same with energy. It just moves. It's like do 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 having an experience. What I found fascinating is that everything was created through intention and energy, humans, planets, grids. Yeah, I mean, everything is created through intention and energy, even right here, right now. That's what manifestation is. If you start to dissect everyone that teaches manifestation, it simply is intention combined with energy, which means that you hold an intention, a desire. I want a new car. I want a new house. I want $100,000. I want a relationship. That's intention. And then energy is you matching the frequency of that. Okay, now it's very difficult to do that in a dense third dimensional reality. One, we have linearity, we have time. We're in time, things go slow. Two, we have trauma, limiting beliefs and thoughts, which stop our belief that we can have that intention. When you are in a much higher frequency, there are no thoughts, there are no limiting beliefs, there's no trauma. You create whatever you want in the moment that you're creating it. And you know how because you have the intention. I'm going to create a human body and I understand the energy that I need to connect to in order to do that. It's very simple. Everything is extremely complex in the human journey. Very complex, but it's very simple. The point of increasing light on the earth is you have different experiences. So the earth body is like your body. So the earth's body is increasing in frequency, giving her higher dimensional experiences to have, while humans are standing on top of it, able to start to access her higher frequencies. We're able to impact her higher frequencies. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And our physical bodies are starting to increase as well. As our physical bodies increase, we assist her body in increasing. When her body increases, we assist our bodies. The whole purpose of increasing frequency in the physical form is to have new experiences, to step into higher states of awareness and consciousness, to step out of programming, to step out of limiting beliefs, to step out of trauma, to step out of victimhood. We're pulling ourselves back out of it. This is only one reality. This is one-dimensional field creating one type of experience, and we are on our way into other dimensional fields to have much more peaceful experiences and states of being. That's what we're doing here. And again, from what I've been given, it's not you as a consciousness that's elevating. It's the body that's elevating. It's the body that's giving you that ride. Same with Earth. We'll talk about the reptilians and the grays and on the fourth day, but it's very difficult to understand why they did what they did and how we allowed it to happen. We replicated ourselves. Does the Galactic Federation create each individual body that exists, or did they create the original humans? They created the DNA that's held in the sperm and that's held in the egg. and then it just gets replicated, which is why we have uh, generational trauma, right? In terms of the consciousnesses that get replicated, there's two sets of DNA. Okay. There's the physical form set, which is about 10% of the DNA. That 10% creates the physical form. That gets replicated. That's in the egg, that's in the sperm. Then there's 90% of the DNA, around 90, maybe 80%, somewhere around there. I can't remember what it said in the book. Um, but the other 80 to 90% of the DNA is the Akashic record, the generational trauma and the lineage of your parents and those parents, right? That makes up the rest, which is your experiences, which is your roadmap, which is the core consciousnesses, um, which is the imprint of your soul. Your soul is held there as well. Well, aspects of your soul experience, your past lives, your future lives. Right. But the actual physical body is just replicated within the sperm and the egg of the human body. I don't know what spark set is. No one's in charge of our frequency. The body, Caroline, the body is doing this. So you're experiencing the releasing of trauma in your body. You're experiencing the releasing of identifying as the thoughts, the beliefs, the behaviors. You release it through the body. And as you release it through the body begins to increase in frequency. When the body begins to increase in frequency, you as consciousness begin to experience new things. You stop using the lens of the ego all the time. You start using a lens of higher self. These things just naturally start to happen, right? So right now we are identifying most of the time as an ego and as our personality. We're not, but that's what we're identifying as. So the consciousness inside of here, it isn't experiencing, it knows that it's not the ego. It's kind of like watching everything. It's like a movie. And it's just waiting for the physical form to increase in higher vibration to have different experiences. What we, you and I, that we identify as which is the ego, the personality, the name, my name is lorieladd, blah, blah, blah. That's the identification. The identifier has to release the trauma. The identifier has to let go of the limiting beliefs. The identifier has to sort of navigate the human journey. It's the identifier that's assisting the human body and increasing in frequency. It is the human body. It's the frequency of the human body that is giving all of these aspects of us the experiences. The you that you're trying to figure out who you are just a consciousness, but you are way in the background. You know, you've got the lens of the ego personality, you've got the higher self experience, you've got the soul, and then you have your consciousness. So you as a consciousness, you're just chilling and hanging out, having an experience, but it takes a lot of like, what the freak are you talking about to conceptualize what I'm even talking about? Because it is the lens that we have is a mind, logic, reasoning, ego, that kind of thing, physicality. So it's very difficult to understand this. You can't think this, you have to feel it. You have to feel it. So the identifier that's experiencing all of this is what is the observer as well, that is recognizing the trauma that's coming up. It's recognizing the limiting beliefs that are coming up. It's feeling everything. It's recognizing I am not the feelings. And as it does this, the body releases the density through your own participation and observation of it. And then the body starts to increase in frequency. Right? Okay, one more question. Trauma is just part of this experience. Where trauma, if you read the book, you'll find out that what trauma is an experience that was difficult for you to feel when it happened. And the energies that were created from that experience stored in the body, and we call that trauma. So it's just density that was experienced. Okay, so let's say you had an experience where a teacher yelled at you, or you went to a school where a teacher yelled at you all the time. That's an experience. When you have that experience, there's energy that is created through that experience. That energy is moved into the physical body. Again, this is in the book. It's moved into the physical body and it's experienced as emotions, thoughts, beliefs. If you do not allow that experience to just simply be felt, which most of us can't, we identify as it. It doesn't feel good. We don't like it. We ignore it. We silence it. It stores in the body, and we call that trauma. And as more energies store in the body, it creates heaviness or density, trauma. In order for the physical body to increase in frequency, the density has to clear out. It's like if you have mud in the water, how are you going to get the water clear? You have to clean the mud out. You have to drain the mud. You have to filter the mud out. So that's what we're doing. And the more that we allow the trauma to be released from the body, there's more space for the light to exist in. And the more light that comes into your body, the more it's going to flush out the density, the trauma. And everything will come up when it's designed to come up. We don't have to go searching for it. Contracts definitely bring out trauma. Contracts create trauma. Does that make sense? Yeah, I mean, part of what's so great about this book is even though it's going to push us up against what we have believed and really make us want to fight against it and argue against it and but what about this? But what about this? But this makes no sense, right? Those are beautiful experiences because it's just you pushing against, you know, truths and beliefs and ways in which you live, and it's okay. But what this book is designed to do is to allow you to relax, to stop fighting against what's happening with us, for us. You know, we live in a world where we are constantly in a survival mode, right? And we're not designed to be in a survival state. We're designed to go through all of this and have all the human experiences and human emotions around it. But simultaneously remember that there's all this, there's like a perfect recipe to all of this. There's a perfect recipe to all of this that's allowing me as consciousness to be able to move through this. Even if these concepts are so confusing and so difficult to hold and don't make sense. This is like what I said in the very beginning, right? It's the juggling act or the holding of simultaneously the human experience. I've got trauma. This doesn't make any sense. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know, I can't pay my bills. I have this illness in my body. Yep, 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 yep. I'm not going to argue against that. Absolutely. I'm not going to take it away. The divine design isn't going to take any of that away. We have to go through all this. But it allows us to remember that there is a design to this, that there is an intricate, powerful, beautiful, magical, awe-inspiring design to all of this. And we still get to have our temper tantrums. We still get to turn this off and go out and get upset with people and have breakups and divorces and also just amazing experiences of abundance and joy and peace and all of that. We get to have all of it. We don't bypass the human. We don't bypass any of it. We go through it. Got it? Got it. Hi, Lars. All right. That's it. 1 hour. We are done. Tomorrow, we are here, day 2, 2 p.m. California time, and we're gonna be talking about the 12D grid. I'll read a little bit from, chapter 2. I think it's wherever the 12D grid is in the book. We'll read a little bit about the 12D grid. I love this concept and this remembrance and this, like, holy cow, what? So join me tomorrow, 2 p.m. California time, the 30th of August, for the 12D grid. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe, turn on the little bell notification so you get notified when I go live. Share this with people. And I will see you tomorrow. Be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others. I love you. Mwah.